It was a cold and dreary night, the kind that makes your bones ache. I stood shivering at the entrance of Arby's, peering out into the darkness. The neon sign buzzed above me, casting an eerie glow on the empty parking lot. Rain pelted against the windows, a relentless drumming that seemed to echo the rhythm of my anxious heart. I'd been working at Arby's for as long as I could remember, serving up roast beef sandwiches and curly fries to hungry customers during the day. But tonight was different. Tonight was my first solo night shift. The manager, Mr. Harris, had called in sick, leaving me to run the place alone. I wasn't thrilled about it, but I needed the money. Bills have a way of piling up, and I was drowning in debt. The restaurant's interior felt strangely desolate as I flipped on the lights. Fluorescent bulbs flickered to life, revealing rows of empty tables and chairs. Kitchen in the back was a stainless steel maze, gleaming eerily under the harsh lights. The scent of stale fries lingered in the air, a reminder of countless meals served here. As I got to work, the curt hum of the fryer and the hiss of the soda machine seemed oddly comforting. I began to settle into the routine, taking orders over the drive-through intercom and assembling sandwiches with practiced precision. It was quiet, save for the distant rumble of thunder, and I felt a strange sense of peace wash over me. But then the lights began to flicker. At first, I dismissed it as a minor electrical issue, but as the flickering continued, my unease grew. It wasn't just the lights. I began to hear strange noises. Footsteps echoing from the dining area, the faint whisper of voices. I told myself it was just my imagination, that the isolation of the night shift was playing tricks on me. Then the phone rang. I jumped, startled by the sudden noise. It was the landline in the back office, a relic from a bygone era. I hesitated for a moment, debating whether to answer it. My heart raced as I picked up the receiver. "Hello," I said tentatively. There was a long silence on the other end, just heavy breathing. "Who is this?" I demanded, my voice trembling. A low, raspy voice finally spoke. "You shouldn't be there alone, kid." My blood ran cold. "Who is this? What do you want?" But the line went dead. I slammed the receiver back onto its cradle and took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. Maybe it was just a prank call, I thought. But the unease settled deep in my gut, refusing to budge. I returned to my work, trying to shake off the unsettling phone call. As I flipped burgers and filled drink cups, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Every creak of the floor, every whisper of the wind outside seemed like an ominous presence. The minutes dragged on, each one stretching into eternity. Then, I heard it again, the footsteps, closer this time. I turned towards the dining area, but there was no one there. The restaurant was as empty as before. I told myself it was just the wind or my frazzled nerves, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was lurking in the shadows. I continued working, trying to push the fear from my mind. But then, the lights flickered again, and this time they went out completely. Darkness enveloped the restaurant, leaving me blind and disoriented. Panic seized me as I fumbled for my phone, using its feeble flashlight to navigate my way to the circuit breaker in the back. My heart pounded in my chest as I flipped the switch, restoring the lights. But in that brief moment of darkness, I was sure I had seen something, a shadowy figure, standing in the corner of the dining area. I shook my head, trying to dispel the image from my mind. Maybe it was just a trick of the light. Maybe it was just my imagination running wild. I had to finish my shift. I couldn't afford to lose this job. As the night wore on, the sense of unease never left me. The footsteps continued, as did the strange noises. It was as if the restaurant itself was alive, its walls whispering secrets I couldn't comprehend. I couldn't escape the feeling that I was not alone. Then, just before midnight, a car pulled into the drive-thru. Relief washed over me as I rushed to the window, eager for some human interaction. But as I peered out, I froze. There was no one in the car. I blinked in disbelief, my mind racing. Was this some kind of prank? But the car's engine was running, its headlights illuminating the empty driver's seat. I backed away from the window, my heart pounding in my chest. This couldn't be real. It had to be a hallucination, a trick of my exhausted mind. But then, the car began to move. Slowly, it rolled forward as if driven by an invisible hand. It came to a stop at the pickup window, and the intercom crackled to life. A voice, a different voice from the one on the phone, spoke, low and menacing. "Give me my order," demanded. I stood frozen in terror, unable to respond. How was this possible? Who or what was in that car? The voice grew impatient, and suddenly the car doors swung open. I watched in horror as the empty driver's seat seemed to shift, as if someone invisible were climbing out. The door slammed shut, and I heard footsteps approaching the window. I couldn't see anything, but I could feel a presence, a malevolent energy that sent shivers down my spine. The intercom crackled again. "Give me my order," the voice repeated, more forcefully this time. I stumbled back, frantically trying to assemble a sandwich to placate whatever unseen entity stood before me. My hands shook as I bagged the food and placed it on the counter. The bag was snatched from my hands, and I heard the car door open and slam shut once more. The car, with its invisible driver, pulled away, disappearing into the rainy night. I stood there, trembling and bewildered, as the empty parking lot swallowed up the phantom car. I couldn't explain what had just happened. My mind reeled with fear and confusion. I considered calling the police, but what would I tell them? That an invisible entity had ordered food from Arby's? The rest of the night passed in a blur of paranoia and dread. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that something sinister lurked just out of sight. The lights continued to flicker, the strange noises persisted, and the sense of unease settled in like a heavy fog. Finally, as the first rays of dawn broke through the clouds, I locked the doors and stumbled out into the daylight. My nightmarish shift was over, but the terror I had experienced would haunt me for the rest of my life. I never went back to Arby's. I quit my job, vowing to leave that night behind me. But the memories, the fear, they never left. I couldn't explain what had happened, and I didn't want to. I tried to put it all behind me, to move on with my life, but the shadows of that night clung to me like a curse. I've often wondered what it was that haunted Arby's that night. Was it a malevolent spirit, a restless soul trapped in the restaurant's walls? Or was it something darker, something beyond our understanding? I may never know the truth, but one thing is certain. I will never set foot in that restaurant again. I will never forget the horrors of that fateful night on the night shift at Arby's.